Jyeshta Nakshatra, cognitive subconscious patterns, audio, visual, and kinesthetic. Some individuals process the world primarily through auditory channels, inner dialogue, tone, rhythm, and verbal memory. Others are strongly visual, absorbing through image, pattern, or symbolic form. Some are kinesthetic, learning through feeling, body awareness, and emotional resonance. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, intellect, communication, and associated with Indra, authority, protection, mastery, leans predominantly toward auditory and kinesthetic processing styles. These natives are highly perceptive and mentally agile, often absorbing information through language, tone, and subtle emotional shifts. Their cognitive strength lies in emotional intelligence wrapped in strategic insight. They process not just what is said, but how and why it's said. However, when balanced by inner vision or creative interest, a sharp visual symbolic dimension can emerge, especially when decoding deeper meanings or power dynamics. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses reveal how their subconscious processing shows up. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 10th house, the dominant style is auditory verbal. These individuals think in words, debate internally, and are attuned to vocal tone and verbal precision. In Jyeshta, Mercury sharpens this style. They often read people through their voice, detect emotional tension in silence, and store memory through conversation. If Mercury is in the 10th, this skill becomes a career strength. They may be persuasive communicators, spokespersons, analysts, or writers who control narrative and tone masterfully. If Moon is in the 1st or 4th house, the processing leans kinesthetic emotional. These natives sense before they speak. They absorb emotion through body cues, vibes, and unspoken relational shifts. In Jyeshta, the Moon adds depth to Mercury's intellect. They feel what others conceal and carry a strong emotional memory beneath their words. If Moon is in the 10th, this emotional radar becomes part of their leadership. They instinctively adjust to emotional currents in public or professional roles, often seen as emotionally sharp yet composed. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the style becomes kinesthetic with instinctual edge. These individuals process by doing, acting on hunches, learning through repetition, and reacting to internal physical tension. In Jyeshta, Mars adds vigilance. They notice threat, power shifts, and emotional intensity in the room before anyone else. If Mars is in the 10th, this becomes a professional weapon. They navigate high-pressure environments with swift, silent competence. If Venus or Jupiter is in the 5th or 9th house, a visual symbolic layer emerges. These individuals learn through imagery, patterns, metaphor, or ritual. In Jyeshta, Venus adds sensual refinement to their perception. They may absorb visual detail in fashion, design, or emotional cues. Jupiter adds philosophical sight. They perceive life as layered with karmic meaning, often mapping inner power through symbolic insight. If either is in the 10th, they may gain public recognition for seeing what others don't, combining intuition and intellect with visual or spiritual intelligence. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the processing becomes nonlinear and psychic. These natives absorb energy, ancestral memory, or karmic signals, processing beyond time, structure, or logic. In Jyeshta, Ketu deepens the watcher archetype. They often understand people's motives without conversation. If Ketu is in the 10th, they may become invisible leaders or behind-the-scenes protectors, known for intuition, subtle control, or quiet mastery of systems. Jyeshta's cognitive style is deeply strategic, emotionally layered, and tone-sensitive. These natives aren't just smart, they're psychologically attuned. They read between the lines, sense subtle power plays, and often learn more from silence than speech. Their growth lies in trusting their perceptions while learning when to ground their insights in clarity. When balanced, Jyeshta becomes the quiet master, processing the world through intellect fused with emotional wisdom, always one step ahead, but rarely needing to show it. Jyeshta Nakshatra, motivation direction, towards versus away from. Some individuals are driven towards a goal, seeking growth, recognition, or personal mastery. Others are motivated away from, moving to avoid vulnerability, loss of control, or emotional exposure. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, strategy, intelligence, and associated with Indra, authority, protection, and status, often moves between the two, but leans subtly toward an away-from orientation. These natives are naturally vigilant and psychologically alert, often operating with a strong instinct to protect themselves and their inner world. They are motivated by a desire to remain in control, avoid betrayal, and prevent perceived weakness. However, when emotionally secure and mentally focused, Jyeshta can shift into a powerful towards direction, using their insight and resilience to rise in status, lead others, or protect something greater than themselves. Their motivation style is shaped by planetary placements in the first, fourth, sixth, and 10th houses. If Mercury is in the first, third, or sixth house, the motivation becomes more towards oriented, but with calculated intent. These individuals move forward intellectually, pursuing skill, influence, or information. In Jyeshta, Mercury adds clever ambition. They don't chase success blindly, but pursue what gives them psychological leverage or authority. If Mercury is in the 10th, they're seen as sharp professionals, driven by strategic advancement, often quietly competitive in leadership or communication roles. If Moon is in the first or fourth house, the motivation tilts toward away from, rooted in emotional self-protection. These individuals act to avoid overwhelm, emotional conflict, or vulnerability. In Jyeshta, the Moon adds a sensitive core beneath their strong exterior. They may withdraw, delay, or deflect when feelings are too intense. If Moon is in the 10th, this emotional caution shapes their public behavior. They're careful with visibility, protecting their reputation and emotional balance at all costs. If Mars is in the third or sixth house, the native becomes more proactively towards, but with intensity. These individuals are driven to prove themselves, outmaneuver others, or assert quiet dominance. In Jyeshta, Mars adds fire to their usually restrained demeanor. They'll take charge when challenged. If Mars is in the 10th, their ambition becomes visible. They may compete quietly, but effectively for roles of power or control, motivated by excellence rather than recognition. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the motivation becomes away from, filtered through fear of failure, responsibility, or karmic caution. These individuals avoid instability, disorder, or being exposed as weak. In Jyeshta, Saturn deepens their sense of burden. They're often motivated to maintain control and avoid collapse. If Saturn is in the 10th, this creates an image of stoic responsibility. They may lead from behind the scenes, ensuring everything stays intact. If Rahu is in the 1st or 10th house, the motivation becomes hyper towards, often bordering on obsession. These individuals want power, recognition, or transformation fast. In Jyeshta, Rahu can amplify ambition while disguising fear. They may chase status or control to avoid deeper emotional vulnerability. If Rahu is in the 10th, they are visibly ambitious, but may need to ground their drive in inner stability to sustain what they achieve. Jyeshta's core motivation is self-preservation with strategic evolution. These natives are not reckless. They rise when ready, act when confident, and retreat when wise. Their growth lies in recognizing when their avoidance is based on fear and when it's protecting sacred inner space. When they move from conscious choice rather than reaction, Jyeshta becomes a powerful leader, subtle, discerning, and capable of achieving much, not by chasing loudly, but by moving wisely. Jyeshta Nakshatra, attention direction, self or others. Some individuals have a primarily self-focused attention, monitoring their inner world, thoughts, and emotions with constant introspection. Others are more others-focused, tuned into external energy, emotional dynamics, and how they are being perceived. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, perception, adaptability, and associated with Indra, leadership, protection, pride, often toggles between the two, but leans toward an others-focused attention pattern. These natives are highly perceptive and alert to social dynamics, power plays, and subtle emotional shifts in others. However, their acute awareness of others often stems from an underlying desire to protect themselves, so their external focus is often a strategy for control, survival, or influence. When balanced, their attention turns inward for clarity. But when reactive, it stays outward, tracking perceived threats or changes in emotional tone. Planetary placements in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses shape how this focus plays out. If Mercury is in the 1st or 3rd house, attention tends towards self, but in a highly analytical, self-monitoring way. These individuals are mentally aware of their image, choices, and how they're performing or presenting. In Jyeshta, Mercury sharpens self-awareness. They're constantly adjusting, refining, or questioning their next move. If Mercury is in the 10th, this introspection becomes visible. They appear composed and articulate, often controlling how they're seen with careful, strategic attention. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, attention becomes others-focused, especially emotionally. These natives are responsive to tone, energy, and subtle emotional dynamics. In Jyeshta, Moon heightens relational tracking. They notice when people pull away, when something shifts emotionally, or when trust is tested. If Moon is in the 10th, this sensitivity becomes part of their public presence. They may succeed through reading the room, but need to guard against over-adapting to others' expectations. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, attention is self-focused through drive and instinct. These individuals are internally motivated, often tracking their progress, energy levels, and personal power. In Jyeshta, Mars gives them a protective edge. They don't focus on others for approval, but to anticipate competition or threat. If Mars is in the 10th, they may channel this self-focus into career. They rise quietly but fiercely, rarely letting others see their inner ambition. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, attention is a blend of others-focused duty and self-focused restraint. These natives are aware of others, expectations, and constantly self-monitor to meet them. In Jyeshta, Saturn brings emotional pressure. They may feel burdened by how others view them and use this to overcorrect or control their image. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are seen as steady professionals, but often carry an internal heaviness related to external pressure. If Rahu is in the 1st or 10th house, attention is intensely self-focused, but filtered through external validation. These individuals constantly watch how others react to them, feeding their internal sense of identity through outer reflection. In Jyeshta, Rahu creates a need to be seen as powerful or respected. They may obsess over perception, status, or authority. If Rahu is in the 10th, this becomes public. They often chase visibility, but must learn to anchor their sense of self from within. Jyeshta's natural attention is externally alert, but internally complex. They often monitor others not out of codependency, but out of strategy, safety, and subtle self-protection. Their evolution lies in learning to shift that gaze inward, not to withdraw, but to strengthen. When they balance their sharp awareness of others with deep internal clarity, Jyeshta becomes a master of relational and emotional intelligence, capable of sensing power, managing perception, and leading with quiet command. Jyeshta Nakshatra, understanding chunk size, big or little. Some individuals process information in big chunks, preferring broad insights, symbolic understanding, or overarching concepts. Others understand in little chunks, focusing on detail, nuance, and step-by-step logic. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, intellect analysis, and associated with Indra, leadership, responsibility, discernment, naturally leans toward a little chunk processing style. These natives are analytical, perceptive, and often detail-oriented, preferring to break things down before integrating them. However, due to their leadership instincts and subtle psychological insight, they can develop big picture comprehension, especially when the topic involves power dynamics, protection, or long-term influence. Their dominant processing style is influenced by planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses, where intellect, perception, and leadership unfold. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 6th house, the understanding style is distinctly little chunk. These individuals absorb through structure, details, language, pattern, and correction. In Jyeshta, Mercury brings sharp mental acuity. They notice inconsistencies, read between the lines, and learn best through repetition or observation. If Mercury is in the 10th, they bring this precision into their profession, often rising in roles that require technical expertise, emotional intelligence, or communication mastery. If Moon is in the 4th or 5th house, understanding becomes more emotionally layered, still grounded in specifics. These natives absorb in small emotional doses, building intuitive understanding slowly. In Jyeshta, Moon gives emotional memory. They may connect dots through feelings rather than logic, but still prefer to unpack experiences in careful stages. If Moon is in the 10th, they bring this sensitive discernment into leadership, quietly gauging others and situations with a deep, deliberate emotional lens. If Mars is in the third or sixth house, understanding is little chunk through action. These individuals learn by doing, through repetition, discipline, and task mastery. In Jyeshta, Mars adds controlled intensity. They prefer to test ideas through movement or defense, mastering one piece before moving to the next. If Mars is in the 10th, they become known for steady drive and methodical learning, applying their skills with confidence over time. If Jupiter is in the first or ninth house, the style begins to shift toward big chunk understanding, especially in spiritual, moral, or philosophical domains. These natives may zoom out from analysis to ask, what does this mean in the long run? In Jyeshta, Jupiter tempers Mercury's detail fixation. They begin to see symbolic, karmic, or ethical connections. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they may guide others with a mix of detail and wisdom, capable of seeing the forest and the trees. If Ketu is in the first or fifth house, the processing becomes nonlinear and intuitive, outside traditional chunking altogether. These individuals may bypass logic entirely, sensing what is true without needing to analyze every part. In Jyeshta, Ketu can bring psychic fragmentation or symbolic genius. They know without knowing how. If Ketu is in the 10th, their insight may feel otherworldly, showing up in leadership, healing, or advisory roles where intuition carries more weight than structure. Jyeshta's strength lies in its keen layer-by-layer perception. These natives often begin by focusing in unpacking reality through fine emotional and mental filters. Their growth comes when they learn to zoom out, connecting the specifics to larger truths. When integrated, Jyeshta becomes a powerful thinker and protector, grounded in detail, sharpened by experience, and capable of wielding knowledge with clarity, discernment, and depth. Jyeshta Nakshatra, frame of reference, internal or external. Some individuals rely on an internal frame of reference, guided by their personal truth, emotional intelligence, and intuitive judgment. Others look to an external frame of reference, basing decisions on validation, authority, or societal expectations. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, mental processing, adaptability, and associated with Indra, authority, power, protection, tends to start with an internal reference point, especially in emotionally charged or competitive situations. These natives trust their own assessment of power dynamics, loyalty, and trustworthiness. However, their sharp awareness of status, influence, and perception means they often scan the external world to maintain control or reputation. They may listen to others, but decisions are usually filtered through personal discernment first. Planetary placements in the 4th, 7th, and 10th houses reveal whether this inner compass stays dominant or gets reshaped by outer demands. If Mercury is in the 1st or 3rd house, the native's frame of reference is internally analytical. These individuals weigh situations with sharp intellect and self-awareness. In Jyeshta, Mercury reinforces a thoughtful approach. They observe, strategize, and act from internal calculation rather than external approval. If Mercury is in the 10th, this becomes professional strength. They're seen as mentally sharp, able to lead or influence by staying grounded in personal logic. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the frame of reference becomes more externally emotional. These individuals may shift decisions based on the mood or reactions of others. In Jyeshta, Moon adds sensitivity. They may question themselves when emotional security is lacking and adapt to keep peace or approval. If Moon is in the 10th, this becomes visible. They often manage their public image based on emotional tone and how they're perceived socially. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the reference point is internally instinctive. These individuals trust their gut, especially when it comes to survival, loyalty, or action. In Jyeshta, Mars gives a protective edge. They act from internal drive, especially when they sense a challenge or threat. If Mars is in the 10th, they're seen as courageous professionals, quietly powerful and willing to stand alone if needed. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the frame is internal through values and principle. These natives consult their belief system before external feedback. In Jyeshta, Jupiter brings spiritual grounding. They rely on personal ethics, often withdrawing from noise to find clarity. If Jupiter is in the 10th, this becomes part of their leadership. They're known for moral integrity and inner alignment, even in high-pressure environments. If Rahu is in the first or 10th house, the frame of reference often begins external, driven by image, ambition, or validation. These individuals may adapt based on others' expectations or social status. In Jyeshta, Rahu heightens the need to be perceived as powerful. They may initially overfocus on reputation before learning to ground decisions in inner authority. If Rahu is in the 10th, this tension becomes public. They're highly visible, but must learn to act from truth, not just attention. Jyeshta's deepest strength lies in its private discernment and psychological depth. These natives are rarely swayed by surface appearances. They observe, test, and often act from an inner map that's been shaped by emotion, trust, and lived experience. Their evolution lies in learning to trust their inner compass, while also knowing when to listen. When aligned, Jyeshta becomes the wise protector, quietly powerful, guided by inner clarity, and unafraid to lead from within. Jyeshta Nakshatra, action preference, proactive or reactive. Some individuals are proactive, initiating, leading, and controlling situations through foresight and direct effort. Others are more reactive, responding to the environment, waiting for the right cue, or protecting themselves through observation before movement. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, mental agility, strategy, and associated with Indra, authority, responsibility, hidden strength, leans toward a reactive action style, but with strategic intention. These natives prefer to assess, observe, and wait until the moment is right. Their power lies in timing. They don't act to be seen. They act to be effective. However, when in positions of responsibility or when someone they protect is at risk, Jyeshta can become proactively forceful, stepping in with unexpected strength and clarity. Their action style is shaped by planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses, where intent, expression, and pressure come to life. If Mercury is in the 1st or 3rd house, action is proactive through intellect. These individuals move when mentally prepared, often initiating conversation, negotiation, or calculated movement. In Jyeshta, Mercury gives them subtle speed. They act not with impulse, but with sharp timing. If Mercury is in the 10th, this becomes part of their leadership style, strategic, composed, and able to pivot quickly when the moment calls. If Moon is in the 1st or 4th house, action is emotionally reactive. These individuals wait until their emotional state feels settled or secure before acting. In Jyeshta, Moon intensifies emotional depth. They often act from protection, not provocation. If Moon is in the 10th, this becomes public. They appear calm, but may shift direction based on mood, emotional tone, or relational energy. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the action becomes more proactive, especially when control, competition, or loyalty is involved. These natives don't wait if they sense threat. They move quickly and with force. In Jyeshta, Mars is the hidden warrior. They may seem composed until tested, then act with power. If Mars is in the 10th, they become known for strength under pressure, assertive, protective, and willing to lead from the front when necessary. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, action remains reactive and structured. These individuals don't rush. They respond with caution, responsibility, and long-term thinking. In Jyeshta, Saturn adds patience. They prefer to delay rather than misstep. If Saturn is in the 10th, their public actions are careful and deliberate. They're respected for calm control rather than quick reaction. If Rahu is in the 1st or 10th house, action becomes hyper-proactive, often driven by ambition or urgency. These individuals may act before thinking, trying to secure control or visibility. In Jyeshta, Rahu adds pressure. They may leap toward power, but must learn to temper their speed with wisdom. If Rahu is in the 10th, their career moves are bold. They rise quickly, but must ground their efforts in strategy and maturity. Jyeshta's strength lies in strategic timing and emotional restraint. These natives don't move for show. They move when the path is clear and the impact is meaningful. Their growth lies in trusting their inner pacing, knowing that delayed action isn't weakness and swift action isn't always strength. When balanced, Jyeshta becomes the silent commander, one who sees more, waits longer, and acts with a depth that leaves a lasting mark. Jyeshta Nakshatra, operational style, options versus procedures. Some individuals operate best with options. They need flexibility, freedom, and room to adapt as situations change. Others thrive on procedures, structured routines, clear expectations, and step-by-step systems that provide consistency. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, intellect, adaptability, and associated with Indra, leadership, control, discernment, leans toward a procedural operational style, but with a strategic respect for options. These natives are natural organizers and protectors who value order, secrecy, and accountability. They often work best when systems are in place, especially if they designed or refined them themselves. However, their mental agility allows them to switch methods when needed. They aren't bound by structure, but they prefer it for control and efficiency. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses help reveal how structured or flexible their approach becomes. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 6th house, the native blends procedures with intelligent flexibility. These individuals enjoy systems, but only if they're mentally stimulating or efficient. In Jyeshta, Mercury adds a strategist's mindset. They often create systems they can later adapt. If Mercury is in the 10th, they're seen as skilled planners or analysts, able to balance order and improvisation in professional settings. If Moon is in the 4th or 6th house, the preference leans toward emotionally safe procedures. These natives are more productive when their workflow is emotionally contained and predictable. In Jyeshta, the Moon adds sensitivity. They seek structure to avoid emotional chaos. If Moon is in the 10th, they bring emotional regulation into public roles. They prefer established rhythms and avoid reactive or chaotic environments. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the native prefers procedures for tactical advantage. These individuals are action-driven but controlled. They work best when systems help them stay sharp and focused. In Jyeshta, Mars channels power into discipline. They prefer strategy over spontaneity. If Mars is in the 10th, this creates a strong professional presence. They are decisive and structured, especially in high responsibility roles. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the operational style is solidly procedural. These natives need clarity, repetition, and reliability. In Jyeshta, Saturn reinforces the need to control outcomes. They often uphold high standards and prefer slow, steady execution. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are viewed as dependable leaders, meticulous, methodical, and respected for holding structure under pressure. If Rahu is in the 1st or 10th house, the native may begin with options, experimenting to find their edge. These individuals crave autonomy and control, but may rebel against rigid systems early on. In Jyeshta, Rahu sharpens their ambition. They explore options until they realize structure is necessary to sustain power. If Rahu is in the 10th, they may appear bold and unorthodox, but must learn to ground their leadership in sustainable systems. Jyeshta's ideal operational style is disciplined but discreet. They need systems to protect their energy and maintain power, but they dislike being micromanaged or boxed in. Their strength lies in designing the rules, then mastering them. When aligned, Jyeshta becomes the silent strategist, moving with control, adapting with intelligence, and executing with quiet authority. Whether following protocol or bending it, they always do so with intent. Jyeshta Nakshatra views general or specific. Some individuals operate with a general view, seeking big picture patterns, abstract meaning, and overarching truths. Others gravitate toward a specific view, focusing on detail, nuance, and what lies beneath the surface. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, analysis, precision, and associated with Indra, power, protection, perception, leans strongly toward a specific view. These natives are detail-oriented, emotionally observant, and naturally inclined to notice what others overlook, particularly in tone, behavior, or motive. Their perceptual style is psychologically refined. They don't just see what is happening, they sense why. However, once they have emotionally processed and mentally organized the specifics, Jyeshta can zoom out to integrate those details into a larger karmic or strategic pattern, giving them rare insight. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 5th, and 10th houses reveal how this perspective is shaped and expressed. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 6th house, the view is sharply specific. These individuals process through language, comparison, and subtle observation. In Jyeshta, Mercury amplifies mental sharpness. They excel at reading between the lines and identifying inconsistencies or hidden truths. If Mercury is in the 10th, This detail orientation becomes a leadership strength. They are trusted advisors or managers who are respected for their insight and exactitude. If Moon is in the fourth or fifth house, the native's view is specific and emotionally nuanced. These individuals don't just notice surface facts. They feel subtle shifts and recall emotional memory. In Jyeshta, Moon deepens perception. They learn through tone, intuition, and what is unsaid. If Moon is in the 10th, this emotional sensitivity informs their leadership. They instinctively understand group dynamics and social tone without needing to dominate the room. If Mars is in the third or sixth house, the viewpoint is specific with tactical focus. These individuals scan for threats, weaknesses, or points of leverage. In Jyeshta, Mars sharpens discernment. They're mentally and emotionally alert, using precision to protect, compete, or defend. If Mars is in the 10th, they may succeed in crisis management, covert strategy, or roles that require controlled intensity and keen observation. If Jupiter is in the first or ninth house, the perspective begins to include more general philosophical themes. These individuals are capable of widening their lens, seeing life in symbolic or moral terms. In Jyeshta, Jupiter tempers Mercury's intensity. They begin to see meaning in patterns, cycles, or soul growth. If Jupiter is in the 10th, their leadership style blends wisdom with detail. They offer both vision and practical clarity. If Ketu is in the first or fifth house, the view becomes abstract, intuitive, or karmically symbolic. These individuals may process information in flashes or through subtle energetic cues. In Jyeshta, Ketu gives them a mystical kind of sight. They understand power, loss, and soul contract through a lens that is more spiritual than logical. If Ketu is in the 10th, they may play roles that involve behind-the-scenes influence, ancestral wisdom, or intuitive leadership. Jyeshta's strength lies in its emotional and intellectual precision. These natives aren't satisfied with surface answers. They dig, decode, and decipher until they understand what truly matters. Their evolution lies in learning when to step back, when to take their rich insight and translate it into broader understanding. When balanced, Jyeshta becomes the guardian of truth, focused, discerning, and quietly able to hold both the depth of the moment and the breadth of the bigger picture. Jyeshta Nakshatra, work preferences. Together, proximity, or solo, some individuals thrive working together through collaboration, frequent interaction, and team-driven tasks. Others prefer proximity, working independently but near others, exchanging ideas without emotional entanglement. And some work best solo, valuing autonomy, control, and emotional privacy. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, discernment, mental focus, and associated with Indra, leadership, secrecy, protection, strongly favors a solo or proximity work style. These natives are observant, protective of their emotional energy, and often carry hidden responsibility. While capable of leadership and interaction, they tend to prefer working alone or in controlled relational environments, where loyalty is earned, not assumed. Their ideal setting is one where they can manage their space and energy while remaining connected to purpose. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses clarify how this preference plays out in real-world roles. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 10th house, the preference is often proximity. These individuals like exchanging ideas and staying mentally stimulated, but still want independence in how they operate. In Jyeshta, Mercury prefers strategic collaboration. They'll engage when needed, but maintain control of their process. If Mercury is in the 10th, they may thrive in roles like consulting, communication, or leadership that allows interaction without emotional overexposure. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, there's a deeper pull toward togetherness, but with strong emotional conditions. These individuals value connection, but need safety, trust, and loyalty to truly open up. In Jyeshta, the Moon adds relational intensity. They may feel responsible for others, yet drained by emotional unpredictability. If Moon is in the 10th, they bring this dynamic into public roles, managing relationships with care while still maintaining inner boundaries. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the preference is typically solo, especially when efficiency or control is needed. These individuals like to act decisively without waiting on others. In Jyeshta, Mars intensifies emotional discipline. They'll protect their space and energy, working best when left to handle things their own way. If Mars is in the 10th, they are seen as quietly competent and commanding, leading from behind the scenes with drive and discretion. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the preference is structured solo or proximity with clearly defined roles. These natives do not mind working near others, but dislike emotional messiness or blurred boundaries. In Jyeshta, Saturn reinforces emotional containment. They want efficiency, not bonding. If Saturn is in the 10th, they become the silent stabilizers in leadership, dependable, private, and precise. If Rahu is in the 1st or 10th house, the native may appear social or team-oriented, but their true preference is often solo. They seek power, influence, or success, but want to do it on their own terms. In Jyeshta, Rahu brings an urge to control the environment. They'll interact when it suits their purpose, but retreat quickly to recalibrate. If Rahu is in the 10th, they may pursue high-visibility roles while secretly guarding their solitude and independence. Jyeshta's ideal work style is self-governed, emotionally protected, and quietly powerful. These natives need trust, space, and control to give their best. They are often the backbone of a system, the ones who carry more than they show. Their growth lies in knowing when collaboration supports their strength and when solitude restores it. When honored, Jyeshta becomes the discreet powerhouse, calm, capable, and fiercely loyal to the work that matters. Jyeshta Nakshatra experience, association versus dissociation. Some individuals move through life in full association, emotionally present, immersed in the moment, and responsive to their inner world. Others operate through dissociation, detaching from feelings, stepping back, or mentally observing from a distance to preserve control. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, analysis, intelligence, and associated with Indra, power, pride, protection, tends toward a subtle but deep form of dissociation. These natives often feel intensely but rarely show it. They are protectors of their inner world, observing others and themselves from a place of controlled distance. Emotional immersion may feel vulnerable or unsafe, so they often choose mental analysis or withdrawal to maintain authority, secrecy, or strength. However, when trust is established or they feel emotionally secure, Jyeshta can shift into association, engaging fully and protectively with those they are loyal to. Planetary placements in the 4th, 5th, and 10th houses influence how and when this internal toggle activates. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 10th house, the experience is primarily mental dissociation. These individuals process life through observation, detachment, and inner dialogue, rather than direct feeling. In Jyeshta, Mercury sharpens their ability to analyze emotion rather than express it. They may intellectualize pain or discomfort as a defense. If Mercury is in the 10th, this becomes professional strength. They're known for staying calm under pressure, using logic when others are overwhelmed. If Moon is in the 4th or 5th house, the experience leans more toward association, especially in private or creative spaces. These natives feel deeply and may struggle to maintain the emotional distance Jyeshta prefers. If not balanced, they may swing between emotional overload and sudden retreat. If Moon is in the 10th, this association becomes visible. They may show emotional investment in work or social roles, even as they try to hold composure. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the dissociation becomes controlled and protective. These individuals may feel emotions, but act on them only when it's strategically sound. In Jyeshta, Mars gives them the willpower to compartmentalize, feeling anger, hurt, or desire without showing it until the time is right. If Mars is in the 10th, they are known for focused intensity. They act with impact, but only after observing and assessing the emotional landscape. If Saturn is in the 4th or 10th house, the dissociation is emotionally repressive. These natives often learned early to suppress feelings in order to survive or remain strong. In Jyeshta, Saturn builds emotional armor. They may become stoic, avoidant, or overly controlled. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are seen as reliable and steady. But beneath the surface, they may carry years of unexpressed emotion. If Ketu is in the 1st or 5th house, the experience becomes subtly detached or karmically distant. These individuals often feel removed from the self, from joy, or from emotional events, absorbing life without being fully in it. In Jyeshta, K2 deepens the inner watcher archetype. They may feel ghost-like in their own experience, always a step removed. If K2 is in the 10th, they might hold power or responsibility while feeling strangely absent or disconnected from the role. Jyeshta's relationship with experience is defined by depth wrapped in distance. They sense and perceive acutely, but often choose privacy over participation, analysis over vulnerability. Their growth lies in knowing when to stay outside and when to step in, when to protect their inner world, and when to let themselves feel fully. When integrated, Jyeshta becomes the wise guardian of experience, able to witness pain, power, and complexity without being consumed by it, but still fully alive within it when trust allows. Jyeshta Nakshatra, approach, matching versus mismatching. Some individuals naturally focus on matching, what aligns, feels right, or supports harmony. Others are more oriented toward mismatching, noticing what's off, what doesn't fit, or what needs to be corrected. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, discernment, precision, and associated with Indra, power, protection, pride, strongly leans toward a mismatching approach. These natives are detail-focused, psychologically sharp, and emotionally vigilant. They instinctively scan for inconsistencies, emotional gaps, or subtle betrayals, often detecting what others miss. Their mismatching isn't rooted in judgment, but in protection of their integrity, energy, or those they lead. However, when emotionally safe and fully in control of their environment, Jyeshta can shift into a matching mode, especially when building trust, mentoring, or restoring order. Planetary placements in the 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how this perceptual filter expresses itself. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 6th house, the mismatching lens is intellectual and verbal. These individuals are quick to pick up on contradiction, manipulation, or subtext. In Jyeshta, Mercury makes them masterful communicators, able to dismantle illusions, call out half-truths, or test the sincerity behind words. If Mercury is in the 10th, this becomes a professional superpower. They may work in strategy, crisis resolution, or leadership roles where precision and truth are essential. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the mismatching becomes emotional and intuitive. These individuals sense when something feels off before it's logically apparent. In Jyeshta, Moon gives them an instinctive emotional barometer. They often feel the mismatch first and only later articulate it. If Moon is in the 10th, this becomes part of their public presence. They may read emotional energy in professional spaces with uncanny accuracy. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the mismatching becomes defensive and tactical. These individuals identify weakness, challenge, or threat early and move to correct it. In Jyeshta, Mars brings a protective edge. They mismatch to stay a step ahead or shield what they care about. If Mars is in the 10th, they may be seen as no-nonsense leaders, capable of taking decisive action when something isn't working. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, the native may lean more toward matching, but not blindly. These individuals seek moral or philosophical alignment. In Jyeshta, Jupiter softens the mismatching edge. They notice what's off, but aim to correct it through guidance, not critique. If Jupiter is in the 10th, they may lead through mentorship or moral authority, aligning people to shared purpose rather than dissecting every flaw. If K2 is in the 1st or 5th house, the mismatching becomes symbolic and karmic. These individuals see dissonance on an energetic level, sensing when something isn't spiritually aligned or feels empty. In Jyeshta, K2 makes them instinctively skeptical. They distrust appearances and may reject anything that doesn't feel pure. If K2 is in the 10th, this becomes part of their role. They may serve by calling out falsehood or acting as guardians of deeper truths. Jyeshta's natural approach is forensic and emotionally refined. They mismatch not to criticize, but to understand, correct, and protect. Their challenge is to not let this perceptual sharpness turn into mistrust. Their growth lies in learning when to soften, when matching can build bridges instead of exposing gaps. When balanced, Jyeshta becomes the ultimate truth holder, discerning but wise, protective but fair, and always committed to integrity, both in themselves and in the world around them. Jyeshta Nakshatra, time experience, in time versus through time. Some individuals live in time, deeply immersed in the present, reacting based on emotional immediacy or instinct. Others experience life through time, aware of the past's influence and the future's consequences, making choices with calculated foresight. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, perception, strategy, and associated with Indra, authority, memory, protection, leans strongly toward a through-time orientation. These natives are rarely impulsive. They scan timelines, remember emotional history, and project outcomes before making decisions. Their awareness of consequence, especially around loyalty, power, and vulnerability, means they often delay action until the emotional and strategic timing is right. However, under emotional duress or sudden relational threat, Jyeshta can slip temporarily into in-time reactivity, responding sharply or protectively in the moment. Planetary placements in the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses shape how they move through time. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 10th house, the through-time experience is intellectual and strategic. These individuals map timelines, run mental simulations, and rarely say or do anything without calculating its ripple effect. In Jyeshta, Mercury refines their perception. They wait for the right moment, using time as a tool. If Mercury is in the 10th, this timing becomes part of their professional power. They're seen as composed, sharp, and always 2 steps ahead. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the time experience leans more in time, especially in emotionally charged situations. These individuals are sensitive to the present emotional current and may respond instinctively. In Jyeshta, the moon adds depth and vulnerability. They may react to betrayal or tension quickly, then reflect afterward. If Moon is in the 10th, this emotional timing plays out publicly. They may adjust their leadership or presence based on the social or emotional mood. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the native may toggle between both, but often with decisive in-time action. These individuals will observe, but if provoked or challenged, they act with controlled immediacy. In Jyeshta, Mars gives them protective speed. They strike not from chaos, but from practiced instinct. If Mars is in the 10th, they may be seen as effective crisis leaders, acting decisively while others hesitate. If Saturn is in the 6th or 10th house, the experience is heavily through time, with emotional suppression and karmic awareness. These individuals move slowly, often acting only when they've weighed every angle. In Jyeshta, Saturn strengthens patience. They trust the slow build and rarely rush resolution. If Saturn is in the 10th, they are known for their long-game leadership, unshakable under pressure, and committed to legacy over momentary gain. If Rahu is in the 1st or 10th house, the time orientation may start in time, driven by urgency or desire. These individuals chase recognition or power in the moment, but may overlook long-term cost. In Jyeshta, Rahu amplifies ambition. They may act quickly for visibility, then course correct with time. If Rahu is in the 10th, their timing in public roles is bold. They may leap early, but must learn to sustain their rise through deeper reflection. Jyeshta's true mastery lies in its temporal awareness. These natives are often the keepers of memory, the ones who remember what was promised, what was broken, and what is still owed. Their strength is using time to protect, preserve, and prepare. Their growth comes when they learn not just to wait, but to trust the timing of their inner truth, not reacting from old pain, but responding from deep wisdom. When balanced, Jyeshta becomes the guardian of time itself, acting neither too soon nor too late, but always exactly when it matters most. Jyeshta Nakshatra, primary interest motivation, people, activities, places, or things. Some individuals are motivated by people, seeking connection, influence, or emotional depth. Others are drawn to activities, engaging in what stimulates their mind, sharpens their skills, or offers mastery. Some are moved by places, environments that offer privacy, power, or familiarity. Others are driven by things, objects, tools, or systems that give them structure or status. Jyeshta Nakshatra, ruled by Mercury, mental focus, communication, and associated with Indra, sovereignty, protection, responsibility, is most naturally motivated by activities and people, particularly those involving strategy, loyalty, trust, or control. These natives are deeply protective, often stepping into leadership, mentorship, or behind-the-scenes roles where they can quietly influence outcomes. Their motivation is rarely superficial. It's rooted in emotional complexity, karmic memory, and the desire to remain one step ahead. Planetary placements in the 1st, 3rd, 6th, and 10th houses reveal how this inner drive manifests. If Mercury is in the 1st, 3rd, or 6th house, the motivation is anchored in activities, especially mental or verbal engagement. These individuals are fueled by solving problems, managing information, or outmaneuvering challenge. In Jyeshta, Mercury adds precision. They are motivated by mastery, often pursuing roles where intellect and discretion go hand in hand. If Mercury is in the 10th, they excel in advisory, investigative, or analytical roles, where they quietly direct power through skillful communication. If Moon is in the 4th or 7th house, the primary motivation shifts toward people, especially emotionally charged or karmically significant relationships. These natives seek connection, but only with those who earn their trust. In Jyeshta, Moon intensifies emotional memory. They're drawn to those who stir something deep, even if the bond is complex or heavy. If Moon is in the 10th, their public roles often involve caretaking, diplomacy, or emotionally intelligent leadership, though they may guard their inner world fiercely. If Mars is in the 3rd or 6th house, the drive is toward activities that provide structure, discipline, or protection. These individuals are self-motivated, with a quiet intensity that prefers action over words. In Jyeshta, Mars sharpens control. They are often drawn to crisis management, strategy, or roles that allow them to defend or direct others. If Mars is in the 10th, their professional path may involve leadership under pressure. They act with efficiency, even in chaos. If Jupiter is in the 1st or 9th house, places may begin to hold significance, especially those tied to wisdom, healing, or spiritual power. These natives seek sacred or intellectually rich environments. In Jyeshta, Jupiter expands emotional and ethical perception. They're drawn to inner sanctuaries, symbolic spaces, or power centers where insight and influence converge. If Jupiter is in the 10th, their public life may revolve around institutions, teaching, or spiritual guidance. If Rahu is in the 1st or 10th house, things such as recognition, influence, or tools of control may become early motivators. These individuals chase power, often through unconventional means. In Jyeshta, Rahu enhances ambition. They may be drawn to titles, symbols of success, or elite circles. If Rahu is in the 10th, their career path is intense. They pursue authority, but must learn to balance ambition with emotional integrity. Jyeshta's deepest motivation lies in influence with integrity. Whether through people or purposeful action, these natives want to feel quietly powerful, emotionally discerning, and in control of their path. Their evolution lies in choosing depth over dominance, trust over tactics. When balanced, Jyeshta becomes the protector behind the curtain, motivated not by ego, but by the quiet mastery of their role, their relationships, and their responsibility.